What's interesting, I think, about these allegations, as well as, I mean, we should, from an analytical standpoint, pair them with the revelation from the video that emerged this past Friday of Donald Trump speaking and what he assumed was, a private conversation about his sort of viewpoints on women and kissing them and other things. And I think all these come together in the sense that they tell us something about Donald Trump. They tell us something about his attitude towards women. And electorally, the question is, what is that impact? And what our data shows thus far is that the impact is a little bit more minimal than you might think. The Ipsos data taken since the debate on Sunday night here has shown certainly a bump for Clinton. But what hasn't shifted is the dynamic between women and men. Republican women are not abandoning Donald Trump in droves. His supporters remain fairly steadfast. Clinton is seeing a little bit of a bump as a result of the debate and perhaps of this controversy, of course. But it's not a dramatic decline that we're seeing for Donald Trump. And interestingly, when we polled on attitudes towards some of these issues that have emerged of late, and Trump's statements in particular, some very shocking about women, there's more of a political divide than a gender divide on them. Republicans tend to disbelieve the statements and disbelieve that Donald Trump, either made them or did some of these things that he is being accused of, and Democrats tend to believe them. This is a very politically divided country, and even for a very serious issue like this one, assault, we are seeing really the fallout along party lines rather than along gender lines.
Interesting, your comments about the gender divisions perhaps not being so significant as you might think. Do you see any way that Donald Trump could win the presidency, or are the polls too wide now?
We are having more and more difficulty seeing any path for victory for Donald Trump. The Ipsos data shows a fairly secure Clinton victory at this point, not necessarily by a very large margin. In the United States, we typically don't see large margin wins for any candidates because, as I said, we're such a politically divided country. But just from a state level, if we look at the state level polling, because of course that is the way that presidents are elected here, state by state, according to the Electoral College, the various paths are closing. Many doors are closing. Trump would have to win some key states like Ohio, Florida, Colorado, where he is increasingly trailing in the polls, even in those swing states. So while I don't think the door is closed entirely, I'm not sure I agree with some of the pundits saying, the game is over, the ship has sailed. I think it will still be a close election. It's looking very, very difficult to see a path to victory for Donald Trump.